So a few months back, I did hear the news that Gran Turismo is getting a movie adaptation among the slew of other movie video game adaptations that have come out in recent years. And I thought to myself, well, how are you really going to turn this into a movie? And what is it going to be about? Well, I saw the movie 2 weeks early, and I've had some time to stew on it. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. Spoiler and spoiler free. So a few things you're going to notice right off the bat. The backdrop, entirely different. It's the Wall of Virginity, as I like to call it. It's much more aesthetically pleasing of a shot than the dingy studio, so to speak. Number two, my cohort or co-host or minion, whatever you want to call him, the creature, Brandon, is not here with me. He's done some solo videos. We've done our solo shorts, but this is Lucas's first official solo video. And number three, I don't have my glasses on. There's absolutely no way I could position this ring light where I wasn't getting massive glare on my glasses, so they just had to go. Anyway, that doesn't really matter because we're here today to talk about the Gran Turismo movie that is coming out August 25th, but I did see it 2 weeks early at a fan event. It was hosted from AMC. I don't know if it was at other theater chains, but like if I said it once, I said it a million times on the channel. I have an AMC A-list subscription, $20 a month. You can see 3 movies a week, 12 movies a month, $20. IMAX, Dolby, digital, 3D, what have you. It doesn't matter. It's the best deal of the century. As I've said on the channel again, I've said it to Brandon, anything that I have the slightest interest in seeing, I'll go on a Thursday and spend 2 hours. It's no sweat off my back. So that way I can add to the best and worst movies of 2023 very easily. Check back for that video. It should be releasing in about a year from now, August of 2024. So I did see this Gran Turismo movie. I assumed it was coming out that Friday, but nope. I saw it really early. And, well, I just have such a huge passion for Gran Turismo that I have to talk about this review early before a lot of other people do. So in typical Brandon fashion, I do have the IMDb page pulled up, ready to go. And you know when Lucas has the iPad out, it's serious business. So the summary of the movie is, based on the unbelievable, inspiring, true story of a team of underdogs, a struggling working-class gamer, a failed former race car driver, and an idealistic motorsport exec who risk it all to take on the most elite sport in the world. And you know what? In one sentence, sum up this movie in one sentence. There you go. That is exactly what this movie is. Does it not sound like every other underdog tale you've ever seen in your life? We'll get to that. So the lead billing of this movie, your main 3 actors that we're going to be following around, I can tell you right off the bat, David Harbour and Orlando Bloom, who actually do give very good performances. And then your third main actor, Archie Madewke. I hope I said that correctly because I didn't. As Jann Mardenborough, your protagonist of this movie, your gamer who is rising the ranks, your underdog of this story. Actually, I'll say right off the bat, there really were no bad performances in this movie. It's all pretty much what you'd expect. But I guess we do need to talk about the plot a little bit more. So, Gran Turismo. If you don't know, Gran Turismo... I'm going to put it away, actually, because I don't want to keep holding this. There you go. So, Gran Turismo, if you're unaware of just racing games, or games in general, it is a racing simulator. So, the cars that you drive in the game are not created for the game. They're actual makes and models of cars that are driven on racetracks by, professionals and amateurs, all the like, anybody who's an enthusiast of the sport of racing. So with that, the cars do have the proper weight and physics and mechanics and handling. And I'm not like a car guy, but that's what goes into it. You're going to see that rating for every car as you go through the game. And when you play the game with a controller, it still has an effect. But when you play it with a wheel, with the pedals and a stick shift, it becomes sort of like driving a real car. So the basis of this movie, so the best Gran Turismo racers are competing to win this tournament to be a part of this crew, the Gran Turismo Academy, to become actual race car drivers, to go through like a boot camp. That's where your David Harbour character comes in, where he's going to be the coach for these kids. And Orlando Bloom is the executive for Nissan, who is sponsoring the event. So Nissan does play a big part of it as well as PlayStation, because PlayStation owns the Gran Turismo name. It is an exclusive for them. So in a lot of respects, there's a shitload of product placement for Sony. In fact, I heard somebody say there's more product placement for Sony than a James Bond film, which is very funny because it's very true. Old and new tech alike, really. If you guys are familiar with the movie The Wizard from the 80s, the Fred Savage movie, I think it was Fred Savage, right? Which was basically just an advertising vehicle for Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES, which is just a long commercial for that game, just for kids, to get their asses in the seats to say, hey, Mom, that's the game we're going to get when it comes out. That's what this reminds me of for Gran Turismo 7 on PS5, because all the marketing material, shows a PS5 controller. That's what they're playing in these tournaments. It's like the newest version of the game. Which is fine, I guess, whatever, but it starts to get a little irritating, even down to like the cars, the way it has the PlayStation logo in black against the white, and there's like fins on the back. It's really reminiscent of the PS5 design, so it's like, go buy our shit after you see this movie. And it was cute in the beginning to see the PlayStation logo on stuff, but then it's like, kind of got a little annoying. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but that's just something to talk about, and that's really not a spoiler, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so Jann Mardenborough, he is your protagonist of the movie, like I said, and he's just like the synopsis of the movie just said. He's your working middle-class gamer, obsessed with the game, and he's like crazy good at it. So much so, in fact, they show like scenes where he's driving the car with his friends and whatnot, which is it's in the trailer as well. But he's also really good at it, which translates to his time spent in the game. So he ends up competing in the tournament, wins the tournament, and him and a few others are competing to become like the ultimate race car driver. So you're getting lessons from David Harbour's character, and to be honest, he's definitely the best part of the movie. Like I said, everybody else's acting was pretty good, but he was definitely my favorite part. He was the most believable, I think, because a lot of this movie is just your typical underdog stuff that you've seen so many times. It's so much so, in fact, that the entirety of this movie is predictable, whether it's based on a true story or not. And funny enough, I said in my short, I don't know how much of this is based in reality, but it's generally pretty accurate to the story of Jann Mardenborough, except there are some events out of chronological order toward the end of the movie, which I can only talk about in the spoiler portion, that really don't make sense and kind of is extremely disingenuous. So we'll touch on that in a little bit. So he ends up winning. He goes through this academy and then goes through some setbacks and eventually becomes one of the drivers in the 24-hour Le Mans race, which is a super monumental thing for race car drivers. And he places in that, and basically you see this rags to riches based off of this video game. That's what the movie is. It's what it says it is. And I guess it's fine. If you like those kind of like summer, fun, fast-paced movies, this might really be up your alley, because the directing, it's Neill Blomkamp, and he's had some hits, some misses, so a lot of people are, iffy how is this really going to turn out. I can't say the directing is really bad. Like, the screenplay isn't bad either. The cinematography is really well done. The race car sequences are pretty good. I saw it in Dolby like I do with all the other big releases. And it was fun. It was, the movie wasn't ever really dull. Pacing was fine, like I said. But it's just so painfully average to me that I was just a little bored watching the movie. And it did seem a little silly at times for what it was, because let's get real here. Whether you're playing a racing simulator or not with a wheel and pedals, there is weight in actual physics, and there are wheels on the ground, and lives at stake. So it becomes a bit of a goofy concept, which gets poked at multiple times throughout the movie. So it does have a self-awareness factor about it, and I can appreciate that. When I did review the movie initially, I was kind of dogging on it quite a bit, and I'm a little emotional, I guess, in those shorts. I kind of be either I really like it or I really don't, but I've had a few days to stew on it. and it's serviceable. It's a summer movie. I don't care for Fast and Furious. I don't care for car movies. So in a lot of ways, if you can see like the horror stuff up here, and if you're familiar with our channel, we talk about scary shit all the time. So in the ways that those movies are predictable and not for everybody, I can see how this movie would have an audience, because it is kind of split right now. It's either you like it or you don't. I haven't really seen anybody too iffy on it. Will I ever see it again? No. I did tell Brandon that like I regretted seeing the movie only in the way that I could have spent my time better elsewhere, which I could have, but it's okay. It's a fine movie. I'm going to settle. My final score for this movie is going to be a 6 out of 10. If you like Gran Turismo, there are nods to the game, which I'm not super familiar with, but I understood the references, and I like the gamer jokes, and it was fine. It was okay. Not the best, not the worst. Slightly above middle of the road. But if you are into racing, you probably will get enjoyment out of this movie. I just kind of felt it to be like a cheap teenage poor man's Ford versus Ferrari, because there's like some similarities toward the end of the movie there. And it was okay. So if you haven't seen the movie, there you go. And if you have, continue on, because I'm going to do a little bit of spoiler talk. I don't really have too much to say other than what I was saying initially. My biggest issue with this movie is the fact that you are taking kids who are playing nothing but a video game and putting them behind the wheel of a car. That is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And David Harbour's character is so spot on with saying how stupid this is and how he does, he wants to back out, blah, blah, blah. This shouldn't be done. And Orlando Bloom keeps pushing it. It's Nissan. He's an executive. This looks really good. It's a great PR stunt for both Sony and Nissan. So, it would be really cool to see how that happened, other than like a dramatized version, or maybe read about it or something online. But the point is proven every step of the road of Jann's journey upward, this underdog tale, because everybody else that's in this Gran Turismo Academy is flipping their cars, crashing shit, almost killing themselves, proving the point that, yeah, you're putting a gamer behind the wheel of a car. So this is where the movie, I know, deviates from reality, because I looked this up. So at the end of the movie, toward the end of the second act, Jann gets into a really bad car wreck. The car flips and kills a spectator in the audience. And that did happen. However, this happened years after the Gran Turismo Academy. This wasn't something that propelled him to keep going forward. They put this there to have him keep going and then go to the Le Mans 24-hour race, which he doesn't finish. He places third, and it makes it look better for Sony, because him and Gran Turismo, or just like the whole the whole camp in general, because him and I think it was like 2 other Gran Turismo Academy racers came back to compete in this Le Mans race. So it's like, all you've done is cause nothing but accidents, and then you're going to take them back and then go in like this 24-hour biggest race in the fucking world. This makes no sense, and it's just far removed. It's just so dangerous, okay? And I get it. Like I said, I watch a lot of scary movies that make no sense and they're stupid, but that's my cup of tea. And this might be yours, but that is my issue with the movie. It proves itself right and wrong constantly. And then not only that, it's the most predictable thing. I'm gonna explain this to you and tell me you haven't seen this a million times and that you can picture it extremely vividly. So after Jann is racing in his dad's car after drinking with his buddies, trying to get away from the police, basically doing a Need for Speed chase, not even Gran Turismo at this point, breaks the mirror on the car. The dad finds out and has him working in a coal, shoveling coal for trains or something, or construction, something along those lines, but physically demanding job. And then Jann says to his dad, "How much until I pay you off? Because I'm getting sick of this," essentially. And he goes, "How much until you pay me off? How much until you pay me off? This isn't about paying me off the money. This is where you're going to be working if you keep playing those video games all day. So I suggest you get a plan." "I have a plan, Dad. I'm going to be the best Gran Turismo player, and I'm going to win." He rips off his work gloves, and he runs to that tournament. He's getting texts, "You're going to be late, bro. We got your spot. You're going to be late." The clock is ticking. 10, 9. He's ripping off he's getting in there. 3, 2, he gets down. 1, he goes, and he's late. "Oh, you got to catch up, bro." He catches up and wins. It's it's so stereotypical, and it never stops. It takes that feel good and just does it the whole movie, which I guess it's serviceable. I guess it's fine, but I'll never watch it again. If I didn't say this before, I'll say it now. This movie, to me, is like the poor man's Ford versus Ferrari. So that's how I feel about it. Gran Turismo is a 6 out of 10, and go see it. Go not see it. I don't really know. This is my first solo video, and it's actually going a little bit better than I thought, but finding a way to end it's a little weird.